Margaret woke up at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday and could not open her hand. Not because of an injury, not because anything had happened in the night, just because she was 71, and this was simply how mornings felt now. Stiff fingers, aching knees, that familiar heaviness settling into her joints before the day had even begun. She lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house. Her husband was already downstairs. She could hear the kettle. She could smell toast. And she could not make her hand do the simple thing she was asking it to do. She had her medication. She trusted her doctor. She did everything she was told. But lying there in the gray morning light, she kept circling back to the same question, the one nobody had fully answered for her yet. Is there anything else I can do? Today, we are going to answer that question. Not with miracle claims, not with exaggerated promises, but with 5 specific foods that a growing body of research has linked to reduced joint inflammation, and the honest, clear explanation of why each one may matter for your body after 60. And before we finish today, I want to speak directly to something that I suspect many of you are carrying quietly. A fear that most people never say out loud. We will get to it. But first, let us understand what we are actually dealing with. Welcome to Healthy Aging Research. My name is Emily Hart, and this channel exists to give adults over 55 the kind of honest, evidence-informed guidance that most people never receive an answer in a 10-minute doctor's appointment. Arthritis is one of the most common reasons older adults gradually lose mobility, independence, and quality of life. And the conversation around food and joint health is one that most people never fully have with their healthcare provider. That is what we are here to change. So let us start at the beginning, inside the joint itself. Because once you understand what is actually happening in there, the 5 foods on this list will make complete sense. What is actually happening inside your joints? Think of the joints in your body as carefully engineered shock absorbers. Between every bone, there is a layer of smooth, rubbery cartilage designed to cushion impact, allow fluid movement, and protect the bone beneath it. In a healthy joint, that cartilage is thick enough that the bones never actually touch each other. In osteoarthritis, the most common type of arthritis in adults over 60, that cartilage gradually wears thinner. Years of walking, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, simply living, all of it slowly reduces that cushioning layer. Eventually, in some joints, the cartilage becomes so thin that bone presses against bone. That grinding sensation, that deep, aching pain that is worst in the morning and better after you've been moving for a while. That is osteoarthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is a different story entirely, and in some ways, a more troubling one. Here, the problem is not wear. It is the immune system turning against itself. In rheumatoid arthritis, the body's own defenses, the system designed to protect you from bacteria, viruses, and disease, mistakenly identifies the lining of your joints as a threat and begins attacking it. The result is intense inflammation, progressive swelling, and joint damage that can happen faster than wear and tear ever would. Both conditions share one critical common denominator: inflammation. Relentless, chronic, low-grade inflammation that drives the pain, the swelling, and the gradual loss of function. And here is what most people, including Margaret lying in her bed on that Tuesday morning, have never been told about inflammation. It is not fixed. It responds. And what you eat is one of the most direct ways to influence it. Before we move on, I want to ask you for a quick favor. Right now, 98% of the people watching this video are not subscribed to this channel. If you are enjoying this and finding it useful, take a second to subscribe so you never miss what we publish next. We are working toward 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month, and we are almost there. 1 second is all it takes. The connection nobody told Margaret about. Margaret's doctor had never mentioned this. Most doctors do not have time to. And that is not a criticism. It is simply the reality of modern healthcare, where appointments are short and prescriptions are faster to write than explanations. But this matters, so stay with me here. Deep inside your digestive system, mostly in a section of the large intestine, live approximately 35 trillion bacteria, your microbiome. And when these bacteria are well-fed and thriving, they produce natural compounds called short-chain fatty acids, substances your body uses to actively reduce inflammation throughout the body, including in the joints. That connection between what you eat, what your gut bacteria produce, and how inflamed and painful your joints are is one of the most significant findings in recent nutritional research. It means that every single time you choose what to put on your plate, you are sending a message to your gut bacteria, and they respond. When Margaret eventually learned this, something shifted in her. Because suddenly, food was not just food. It was something she could actually do, every day, starting today. And the first food on our list feeds that system more directly than almost anything else. Food 1. High-fiber foods. Dietary fiber is the single most important fuel source for your gut microbiome. When you eat fiber-rich foods, your gut bacteria ferment that fiber and produce those anti-inflammatory short-chain fatty acids we just talked about. It is a direct, reliable, well-researched chain of events, from your plate, to your gut, to your bloodstream, to your joints. The range of fiber-rich foods is wider than most people realize. Leafy greens, kale, broccoli, cabbage, Swiss chard. Avocados, mushrooms, oats, pears, peaches, every variety of bean. White beans, black beans, lentils, kidney beans, chickpeas. Tree nuts, walnuts, almonds, pistachios, pecans. All of them feeding the same system. All of them sending the same anti-inflammatory signal. Margaret started small. A handful of mixed nuts and dried apricots in the afternoon instead of a biscuit. A bowl of oatmeal in the morning with frozen blueberries stirred through. White beans cooked slowly on Sunday afternoons in a broth with carrots, celery, and onion, enough for several meals through the week. She did not overhaul everything at once. She just added one thing, and then another, and then another. And within a few weeks, something had quietly begun to shift underneath the surface. Her digestion felt easier. Her energy was a little more even through the day. The mornings were not dramatically different yet, but something was changing. She could feel it, even if she could not fully name it. Now, the next food on this list surprised Margaret more than any other, because it was something she had been eating her whole life without ever realizing it was doing this. Food 2. Berries and colorful fruits. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. The deep, rich colors of these fruits are not just beautiful. They come from natural plant compounds called polyphenols and anthocyanins, and these compounds have been studied extensively for their ability to reduce inflammatory markers in the body and help regulate immune activity. For someone managing rheumatoid arthritis, where an overactive immune response is part of the underlying problem driving the damage, that immune calming effect is not a small or incidental thing. It is directly relevant to the mechanism causing the harm. Margaret had always loved berries in summer. What she did not know, and what genuinely surprised her, is that frozen berries retain nearly all of the same beneficial compounds as fresh ones, available year-round, often less expensive, just as effective. She started keeping a bag in the freezer and adding a generous handful to her morning oatmeal every single day. It took less than 30 seconds, it cost almost nothing, and it was quietly feeding her body something it genuinely needed. She told her sister about it on the phone one evening. Her sister, who had been managing her own joint pain for years, went out and bought frozen blueberries the very next morning. That is what good information does. It travels. But here is where the story gets more interesting. Because the third food on this list works through a completely different mechanism, one that targets inflammation at a level most people never think about. Food 3, oily fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, trout. These fish are rich in long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, and omega-3s are among the most thoroughly researched anti-inflammatory compounds in human nutrition. They work by shifting the body's internal chemistry away from inflammation-promoting pathways and toward resolution-promoting ones. Less fire, more calm. For joints that are swollen, tender, and stiff in the morning, that chemical shift matters in a practical, felt way. Multiple research reviews have consistently linked regular omega-3 consumption to reduced joint tenderness, reduced morning stiffness, and improved physical function in people with inflammatory arthritis. Margaret had never been a confident fish cook. The idea of preparing salmon felt slightly out of her comfort zone, so she started with tinned fish. Tinned salmon stirred through a simple pasta with olive oil and capers, or flaked over a salad with lemon. Easy, inexpensive, no complicated preparation. Her husband, Michael, who had always been more resistant to dietary changes than she was, who had spent 40 years insisting he did not enjoy fish, tried it once because she put it in front of him. Then tried it again. Then started requesting it. 2 servings of oily fish per week is a realistic, research-supported target for most people. If fish genuinely does not work for you, speak with your doctor about whether an omega-3 supplement might be appropriate, though whole food sources are generally preferable where possible. Now, the next food on this list is one that many people dismiss as too simple, too ordinary, too everyday to possibly matter. But the science behind it, particularly for joint health, is more substantial than almost anyone expects. Food 4, green tea. Green tea contains a compound called EGCG. You do not need to remember the full name. What you need to know is what it does, and why researchers studying arthritis have become increasingly interested in it. EGCG has been shown to reduce inflammatory activity by calming specific parts of the immune response. It also feeds and supports the gut microbiome, which means it is working on the gut-joint connection we discussed earlier at exactly the same time as it is working on inflammation directly. 2 separate mechanisms, 1 simple cup of tea. But here's the part that genuinely stopped Margaret when she read about it. When joints become inflamed, from either osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, the body sometimes responds by growing new blood vessels into the joint space. These vessels are not normal. They are fragile, leaky, and badly formed. And as they leak, they release fluid and damaging enzymes directly into the joint, making the inflammation worse and accelerating the destruction of the very cartilage the joint depends on. Normal, healthy joints do not have blood vessels in them. They are not supposed to. The fact that inflamed joints grow them is not healing. It is the body's repair system going wrong. EGCG has been shown in research to slow that process, to make it harder for those damaging vessels to take hold. A clinical study involving 86 women with an autoimmune inflammatory condition found that the equivalent of 5 cups of green tea daily reduced their symptoms by approximately half compared to those who received none. Their quality of life improved by around 30%. 5 cups is significant, and that was a specific population with a specific condition. But even 1 or 2 cups each day is a low-risk, potentially meaningful habit. Brew it with water that is hot but not quite boiling. Steep for 2 to 3 minutes. Drink it without milk, which can interfere with the active compounds. Margaret started having a cup mid-morning, sitting at the kitchen table, looking out at the garden, and another one after dinner, in the quiet before bed. She found it settling in a way she had not expected, a small ritual that felt like something she was doing for herself. Which brings us to the fifth and final food, and this one has the most unexpected scientific story of all. Food 5. Bone broth. Bone broth has been part of traditional cooking across cultures for centuries. Every grandmother seemed to make it. Every cuisine had a version of it. And for a long time, modern science was not quite sure what to make of it, whether it was genuinely useful or simply comforting habit dressed in the language of medicine. Here is what the research now suggests. Bone broth is made by simmering animal bones, beef, chicken, turkey, or pork, for several hours. During that slow process, collagen from the connective tissue dissolves into the liquid. Collagen is the structural protein that forms the cartilage in your joints, the very tissue that arthritis erodes over time. For years, researchers assumed that drinking collagen could not meaningfully benefit your joints. The reasoning seemed logical. Your digestive system breaks the collagen down long before it could ever reach joint tissue. So what would be the point? But more recent research revealed something that genuinely changed that assumption. When collagen is broken down into smaller fragments during digestion, those fragments are absorbed into the bloodstream, and they appear to act as biological signals, messages sent through the body's own system, prompting joint cells to begin producing more collagen of their own. Not a direct transfer from broth to joint, something more elegant than that. A conversation between what you consume and what your body then decides to do. The research is still developing, and bone broth is not a treatment, but as a warm, nourishing part of a balanced diet, it carries genuine nutritional value and a plausible, research-informed mechanism for supporting joint tissue over time. Margaret started making a simple chicken bone broth on Sunday afternoons. She used the carcass from a roast chicken, covered it with water, added a splash of apple cider vinegar to draw out the minerals, a few peppercorns, some thyme. Let it simmer slowly for 3 hours while she read or listened to the radio. Then strained it into jars and kept it in the fridge for the week. Some mornings, she warmed a mug of it and drank it slowly at the kitchen table before anything else. Other times, she used it as the base of her bean stew, her vegetable soup, her slow-cooked grains. It became, without her quite planning it, one of the small things she genuinely looked forward to. A quiet, warm ritual in the middle of an ordinary day. Where Margaret is now. 6 months after that Tuesday morning when she could not open her hand, Margaret still has arthritis. That has not changed. It will not change. She still takes her medication. She still sees her rheumatologist every few months. She still has difficult days. But something else has also changed. And it is harder to measure than a blood test or a scan, but it is just as real. The mornings are different. Not perfect, but different. The stiffness is still there on some days, but it is lighter than it was. The first 30 minutes of the day, which used to feel like a slow, painful negotiation with her own body, have become more manageable. She moves through her kitchen more easily now. She opens jars without asking for help. She walked her granddaughter to school last week, the whole way there and the whole way back, without stopping to rest. She cannot say with certainty which food made the difference. Probably all of them, she thinks, working quietly together over months. A slow accumulation of small, consistent choices adding up to something she can actually feel. What she can say, with complete certainty, is that she stopped feeling like a passenger in her own health and started feeling like she had something useful, something real, something within her own reach to do every single day. That shift, from helpless to active, may be the most important thing of all. If you have watched this far, you already know whether this channel gives you something genuinely useful. If it does, subscribing takes 1 second and means every video we publish from this point forward will find you automatically. No searching, no missing something that matters. We are working toward 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month, and we are close. If this video earned that 1 second from you, hit subscribe now. And please hit the like button too. It helps more people over 55 find this channel and get access to the same information you just received. 5 things Margaret now knows. She knows that inflammation is not fixed. It responds, and food is one of the most direct ways to influence it. She knows that high-fiber foods, beans, oats, leafy greens, nuts, avocado, feed the gut bacteria that produce natural anti-inflammatory compounds traveling directly to her joints. She knows that berries contain polyphenols that calm immune overactivity, the very mechanism driving her joint damage. She knows that oily fish shifts her body's internal chemistry away from inflammation, reducing the tenderness and morning stiffness she had come to accept as simply part of her life. She knows that green tea contains compounds that reduce inflammation, support her gut, and may slow the abnormal blood vessel growth that makes inflamed joints worse over time. And she knows that bone broth, that old, ordinary thing her own mother used to make, may be sending signals to her joint tissue, encouraging it to repair itself in ways science is only beginning to understand. None of these foods replaced her doctor. None of them replaced her medication. They worked alongside everything else, quietly, consistently, over time. The thing I promised to address. Before we close, I want to keep the promise I made at the beginning of this video, because I know that some of you watching this are carrying a question you have not said out loud, maybe not even fully to yourselves. It sounds something like this. Is it too late for me? Is the damage already too far along? Am I past the point where any of this can still make a difference? I want to answer that directly and honestly. No, it is not too late. Inflammation is not a fixed state. It is a dynamic process, one that shifts and responds to what you do, what you eat, how you sleep, how you move. Research consistently shows that dietary changes can reduce inflammatory markers in the body at any age. The gut microbiome, that community of 35 trillion bacteria working on your behalf, can begin to shift within days of changing what you feed it. You are not past the point where what you eat matters. You are not too old for your body to respond. You are not beyond the reach of what these 5 foods can do, quietly and consistently, alongside everything else you are already doing. Margaret did not start at 40 or 50. She started at 71 on a Tuesday morning, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to open her hand. She started anyway. And if you are having your own Tuesday morning right now, if this is the day you decide to add one thing, just one, to what you are already doing, then this video was exactly where you were supposed to be today. Before you go, 3 things. If anything in today's video connects with something you are currently managing, please bring it to your doctor or specialist at your next appointment. Your medical team knows your full history, and that context matters more than anything a YouTube video can offer. Show them this video if it helps start that conversation. If this channel gives you something useful, something honest, something clear, something that makes you feel a little more informed and a little less alone in navigating your health after 60, a subscribe means you will never miss what we cover next. Margaret found this channel on a Tuesday morning when she could not open her hand. If you are having your own Tuesday morning right now, this is the right place to be. And finally, we want to hear from you. Has food ever made a noticeable difference to how your joints feel? Have you tried any of the 5 foods on today's list? Leave a comment below. Your experience is valuable, not just to us, but to every other person watching who is asking the same questions you are right now. Take good care of yourself. We will see you in the next one.